This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube. As I already reported, after years of battling health issues, boxing legend George Foreman passed away today, March 21st, 2025, at the age of 76. It was announced by his family on his official Instagram account. The exact cause of death has not been publicly disclosed. His family stated that he peacefully departed, surrounded by loved ones, but no specific details regarding the cause were provided in their statements or in subsequent reports. In reports such as the New York Times, NBC News, and ESPN have all covered the situation. George could have probably been a good pro wrestler because of his larger than life personality, size, and talking ability. He never crossed over. However, he did have his own George Foreman grill as a side project, and he was a reverend, I believe. In later years, he became very religious. By the way, for one of Hulk Hogan's lies that he's said, and I believe his book, he said that the George Foreman grill was originally offered to him, and that has been debunked by a few people. My favorite George Foreman match was when he was defeated by Tommy Morrison. Of course, the Ali one in Zaire. There's been documentaries done about it. His comeback in his 40s when he became heavyweight champion after something like an 8-year hiatus is pretty impressive and motivating. But you never hear in late, although he had a very troubled youth, he's living proof that a person can change because he ended up being a great person and a great role model. In other fighting news, as I get into Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter highlights that I found interesting this week, WBD is apparently in talks with UFC about possibly obtaining some of their streaming rights in 2006 when their ESPN deal ends. Apparently, ESPN is not happy with their current numbers that they're getting for UFC as they're way down, but they're locked into paying a guarantee. There's no revenue split on the pay per views. And really, the main draws the UFC have right now that the public knows is Conor McGregor, who recently said he's running for president or prime minister of Ireland. I'm not sure what they have exactly, but he wants to run for that. I don't know if that's a gimmick or what, but you would think that that would be above having a UFC fight. And John Jones is probably going to fight again in UFC, but there's no done deal. In AEW news, Tony Khan has confirmed that Camille, who was recently in the Mildred Burke movie, is still under contract despite not being used since November and only having a handful of matches since being signed last summer. Soraya, aka Paige, who hasn't been used in AEW since October, says says her career is coming to an end soon. She is being paid a lot of money by AEW. She hasn't done much. She's had a very underwhelming run in AEW. At one point in time, she was one of, if not the most popular girl in wrestling. She certainly didn't sustain that level of popularity for very long. Mercedes Monet has been doing indies lately. It's strange that she doesn't wrestle on every AEW show, but she does indies. They're paying her so much money. It's bizarre to me. AEW, by the way, Dynamite finally beat NXT in the ratings this week, not by much, but it was a 0.19 for Dynamite, which is considered a good number for them now, even though at one point they were in the 0.6s. They did a 0.19, NXT did a 0.15, which is the worst number for NXT so far this year. In other news, Goldberg, 58 now, did an interview this past week where he said he's recently had stem cells and he's expected to wrestle at SummerSlam. A lot of people think against Gunther, who's expected to lose his title that most people don't care about or see as a real world's title to Jey Uso at WrestleMania in one of the main event matches. Uh, to me, I'd rather see Goldberg against William Regal. They actually have heat. They're always dissing each other in public. I'd want to see them, and I think they would both. I don't know if Regal would want it because Goldberg would destroy him, but I'd like to see Goldberg against Regal in an MMA match to finish off Goldberg's career. Meltzer points out that the Goldberg retirement match could potentially also go to Saudi Arabia if they're willing to pay enough for it. But obviously, that match would be better off happening in the U.S., but we'll see. And then who says he only is going to have one? I mean, if you get into that good of a shape. And by the way, Goldberg's one of my favorite wrestlers. Say what you want about him. Bret Hart did wrestle over 10 times after that supposed career-ending concussion in WCW. He wrestled 10 more times in WCW in the weeks after that before stopping, then went on to wrestle for WWE and actually headlined a WrestleMania. And I believe he's still under some type of WWE contract to this day. But I'll take a Bill Goldberg match over a Bret Hart match any day of the week. Apparently, Vince McMahon, as of March 17th, still owns over $1 billion in WWE stock, $1.162 billion in stock. Matt Riddle recently did an interview where he said he's heard through the grapevines that Vince might start his own wrestling company too. That remains to be seen. I've heard they might give him a good job at the TKO boxing company. That's going to be putting on events mainly in Saudi Arabia. That would keep him from creating them competition. But Stephanie McMahon's stock is 281 million, which she's back fully on camera with the company now too. Linda McMahon has 82.1 million in stock. Shane McMahon sold all of his stock. The interesting thing about Shane McMahon is a lot of people say, "Oh, well, if Vince McMahon starts another company, what good is that going to do to him for him at his age?" Could keep the McMahon, like, yes, there's Stephanie and Triple H, but I hear actually there's heat between Shane and Stephanie and Triple H. And Shane, even according to the Vince McMahon documentary, he didn't even want them to get married. But it would be, if I was Vince, I would start another company and like leave it to Shane. That'd be interesting. Not, and also the other thing is Triple H and Stephanie, they both have a lot of WWE stock, but with TKO owning it, they don't have a job for life. They could at some point be released. They could. I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, but I do believe at some point there could be an issue where Triple H gets blamed for business going down and he's released. I'm just saying it's a possibility. So a third company could be a good backup, especially now that it seems like WWE practically, if they don't own TNA, they're very much in bed with TNA at this point. There's an extreme amount of crossover. There's official deals with them, and I do think that's a good thing because the it's not like TNA was any good. I mean, every time you thought it hit an all-time low, it hit another all-time low in bad television. So at least now, like, it's made NXT more interesting, and they got rid of Demore, who was really producing horrible quality stuff, in my opinion, such as making Tessa Blanchard the men's champion, then letting her leave the company still as champion and not doing everything that he could to make her drop the title before leaving, which made the title have zero value. But anyways, that's just my opinion. He again, he, from what I understand, goes out with um, a transgender wrestler. So the crossover between women and men to Demora, the idea is probably a little bit different than me. Apparently, the Madison Square Garden sellout for Raw a few weeks ago was 18,290. The interesting thing, the old days of sellout of Madison Square Garden was over 22,000. So the sellout number, even though they did take away the Titantron side and everything, was still under 22,000. And for UFC, even now, it's closer to 20,000. Sean Waltman, X-Pac, apparently now is working with the WWE. He has a job reviewing WWE ID talent videos and advising them where they should improve. Good to hear. I've met him a couple times in Puerto Rico, and I did an interview with him, a small one in Rhode Island. It's good that he's got a job there. I mean, Triple H is one of the talent relations people. He's got Road Dogg as an old friend of his as the head writer for SmackDown. It's good. I'm glad that speaking of people that have made a comeback after being at low points in life, Sean Waltman, his life was a roller coaster for a while, and he's overcome it, and God bless him. I like him. Steve Austin said some conflicting statements this week, the same week that he told Sports Illustrated that he hasn't been in touch with anyone at TKO since they took over the company. The same day, I think it was announced that he will be doing a signing at the WWE World Expo for 2 days during WrestleMania weekend. It's also been announced that you can pay $25,000 to attend a lunch with 20 other people and John Cena. If if you think that's worth it, God bless you. I mean, I honestly, yeah, I did report on that at the start of this, Michael. Thanks for letting me know. One of my favorite boxers from one of the best eras in boxing. So we'll close off on that. Let me know your memories of George Foreman in the comments, and I wish everybody a great weekend. I am going to be interviewing Rick Bassman here at 6 p.m. Eastern Sunday. And he's going to be at WrestleMania weekend, and we're going to have some stuff to talk about regarding that. So tune into that. And I got some UFO interviews tomorrow. I got one at 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on this channel with one of the UFO disclosure ladies. So subscribe so you don't miss it.